I know we've all got to know each other, but for our viewers who I'm taking for, if you don't mind just saying your name and where you're from.
John Gross from Evansville.
I'm Donna Gross, from Evansville, John's wife.
Marcia Nearage from Evansville.
Greg Newart, Evansville.
Liz Creedmeyer, Evansville.
Carol Lee Taylor, Evansville.
And I am Tracy Wilson with Tourcy from Mount Vernon. So, of course, most of my travelers are from Evansville, Newburgh, Southern Illinois, Southern Indiana, and Western Kentucky. But on our trip, we have two from Dale, a couple that's not here, the Kearns, and then Teresa Graham, who is from Ohio, and then Joan Cecil, who is from Newburgh. So they will join us on tour. They weren't able to be here this evening, but when we get through, we start talking about the air schedule meeting beforehand, we'll all be traveling together. So I'm very excited. I know we've been planning this for a really long time. Yes, so probably over a year for a lot of us. As we all discussed, we originally had 18 travelers, had some cancellations for a variety of reasons, so we are down to 11. Our 11 that are flying from Evansville then will meet up with a group of people from all over that will.
So you know how many are on the total tour?
It is a sold out tour, so there's probably, I believe it is 38 to 40 people total. We do have a tour manager who will be with us. Her name is Nancy. I'll remind you of her name whenever we get closer to time when we're talking, going through the packet. So she will be dedicated to us. She will make sure that we know the itinerary inside out, making sure we get places on time, giving us timelines, and then I'll be there to assist as we go through the airports and then to assist Nancy as she leads. But most of all, we're just there to go see Yellowstone and Jackson Hole, two places I've never been, so I'm really excited. I know Jackson Hole, I tried to get my dad, he's in his early 80s. Jackson Hole was a dream of his to go. He's not able to make it, but I'm hoping to help him live vicariously through me. So I'm gonna check, make sure we got everything good here. All right, so we'll get started. We have our travel packets in front of us. I am going to go through things. I'm not gonna read everything word for word. All the information is in here. Most of it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a domestic tour, so we don't have to go through voltage and currency and all of that. So that'll make it quick and easy. I'm not gonna rush through it. I wanna make sure I answer everybody's questions and we're comfortable. But again, I'm not gonna labor every single point. I do recommend, this is an investment. This is your travel experience to read through the documents. We'll go through some information tonight, but if you get home and you realize that there's some questions that you still have, then feel free to contact me anytime between now and departure. So first thing that we'll do is we will unpack our packets. And we'll go through the information that's included in there. One is my card. So when we get on tour, you'll be contacting me. I'm sure many of you have my number already. When we're going through the airports or we're on tour and you have any questions, you can contact me at any time. This is my cell phone number. I have my phone with me all of the time. So, and then my email address as well. You have a luggage tag that you'll see. You'll fill out your information. Now, I know many of you may have a luggage tag already, your favorite luggage tag, but I do ask that you go ahead and put these on your checked bags, your big bags, because this helps the tour manager, myself, the motor coach driver, and the concierge at the hotel signify that you are on a Mayflower cruise. So fill that out and put this on your checked bag.
But not carry-on.
I suggest on a carry-on to have a luggage tag, to have your information on there. They do just provide the one, and this one is mainly geared for your checked bag, just so that they can make sure that your bags get to your room.
Because I don't plan on a checked bag.
Okay, so, if you don't plan on a check bag, then it will be your carry-on, and we'll get into that, yes, so whatever bag, your main bag then.
Okay.
So, this one then too will go on when you arrive. This is the, paper tag, and this is what the hotel staff, the tour manager, they'll put your hotel rooms on there. So that when we arrive, then, they make sure that they get delivered to your room. And that's what this paper tag, now if you put it on right now before we leave, it's probably gonna come off for handling. Now, you're doing a check bag only. If you're doing a check bag only, go ahead and put this on. This does not have to go on until you arrive though. Alright. This is the travel protection.
Need to arrive in Salt Lake.
Yes, exactly.
That's what I.
Yeah, not a DVD, but once it's, your bags are done being handled by the airport, so that it stays on there. This goes through your travel protection plan. This, everyone has the insurance, so this goes through this in more detail. You'll see the plan number up there. If for any reason you have to cancel prior to departure, up to 24 hours, you get everything back except the cost of the insurance. This kind of goes through that. If there's any incidents on tour, lost luggage, medical, those types of things, then, paperwork, of course, involved, but this kind of goes through what is covered. And while I can't fill out insurance forms for you, if there is for any reason that you have to use the insurance, I can definitely assist you in that process. So that just details a little bit more about the travel protection. All right. Of course, the bag that you have, this is a great place to keep all of your information, your vaccine card, your, most of us keep our driver's license in our wallet, but if you wanna keep, I just will keep this in my purse that I'll travel with, or your backpack, or whatever you'll have on your day-to-day. It's just a nice place to keep anything that you need for the day. All right. Moving on then, this information, these have emergency numbers. More than likely, if anything comes up, you're gonna call me. If you get separated from the group, if anything occurs, I will be kind of the spokesperson for the group. So if there's a delay or something, rather than all of us call in, I will be the spokesperson to call in for that. But if you get separated from the group, one, you can call, it says during business hours, it has a phone number. Out of business hours, there's an emergency number, but you'll have my number, and then when we get on tour, our tour manager's name is Nancy Fields, and she will give us her contact information as well. So plenty of ways that if you get separated from the group or anything occurs, someone will be there to take care of things for you. All right. This talks about vaccination cards, having those with you, and it really is, there's no special form, it's just your original vaccination card.
I have mine on my phone, does that count?
They want the original.
Okay.
They want the original.
Well, I
And
think
it's
so.
nothing fancy, it's just that card they gave you. Now, I do suggest to have a photo of it or to make a copy of it, because if it gets lost, at least you have a record of having it. Now, what I've been hearing, most tour companies starting in 23 are doing away with the vaccine requirement. You may not even have to pull it out. They may not ask for it, but if they do, you should have it with you.
What does fully vaccinated mean?
The first, if it's Moderna or Pfizer, the first 2 shots, or if it's Johnson & Johnson, that first one. You do not have to be boosted to be considered fully vaccinated. Then you will have a tour member information sheet. As a couple, there's 2 sheets general information that you're gonna give to your, to the tour manager upon your arrival. So day one of your tour. So I suggest having this filled out, and Nancy will more than likely say, all right, everybody, I'm gonna collect the tour member information. So just basic information. You'll see there if you're celebrating birthday, anniversary, or special occasion. But basically, address, phone number, very, very general information.
As far as the tour, is there like a tour number, or do we put the name like Yellowstone and?
Yellowstone, let me see, does it have, yeah, the tour and the departure date. So it's Yellowstone and Jackson Hole,
Okay,
September 17th departure.
okay, got it.
So nobody on tour is doing a pre or post extension, so September 17th is the start date of the tour. Okay, the next sheet I wanna go through is the Mayflower Cruise and Tour Screening and Safety Sheet. You'll see some information, and then something to fill out. Now, this is very similar to when you go to the doctor or certain locations, they will say, "Hey, have you been around anybody? Are you experiencing any symptoms?" That type of thing. So those are those basic questions that you'll see right there. So, you know, they follow the CDC guidelines. I will tell you that of all the tours that have been going out, especially recently, things really aren't monitored. There's no testing requirements. You know, but they do, you know, monitor things. That's not to say between now and the tour departure that things might change, and you will be notified of that.
So we need to have masks.
Masks are recommended, not required, at your own discretion. I highly suggest that you bring some of the paper masks. They don't have to be the N95, they don't have to be anything special, but just have them, because what we say in terms of, okay, Mayflower's not requiring masks, but say you're in Yellowstone or Jackson Hole and you wanna go to a specific location, a store, that requires it. I know, I live near New Harmony, love New Harmony, but one of my favorite stores is that they still require masks to enter. So,
It has to be the paper mask, we can't do
you can
the
do,
cloth mask?
you can do cloth, you can do paper,
Okay.
yeah, there's nobody,
One with me.
yeah, perfect, that's perfect, just to have it with you,
Yeah,
just in case.
okay.
Okay, so you'll fill out the information there. You know, and what they're saying, if you've answered yes to any of the above, that, you know, it says to call the office ASAP, you can call me as well.
But you
So,
don't want that filled out until about the day before.
exactly, because, right, it has to be current to how you're feeling at that time. But that's just saying, you know, if you can't reach me to cancel, you can reach Mayflower directly if you're not feeling well. So speaking with the masks, underneath where the bold, if you have questions, in accordance with current CDC guidelines, as of April 1st, masks will not be required on tour except where certain businesses or venues require them, where local mandates are in place. The area that we're not going is not an area that's very much going to require that. You know, a lot of places, say in California or New York or certain locations like that, might be more strict with it, but the national parks are pretty open right now, as well as the areas that we're in. With that being said, if you are more comfortable with the mask, if you are more comfortable, you know, being socially distanced, then, you know, that will be accommodated for you, but it's kind of like day-to-day life here. You know, we can pretty much go in stores, in restaurants, and around here in southern Indiana without being carded for our vaccine card or test, negative test results, that type of thing. So the word that I'm getting, again, it could change by the time the tour departs, is that things are pretty relaxed in that direction. But if you feel more comfortable, you can mask up and do what you need to do to feel comfortable. The seat rotation practice is on the motor coaches will be resumed, which means that as we travel from location to location, we rotate seats so that everybody gets a good vantage point while on tour, because there's going to be lots to see along the area. With that being said, they do disinfect throughout the tour. Hand sanitizer is available, but also ask you to bring either the sanitary wipes or your own hand sanitizer. Nobody's going to monitor that and say, hey, you don't have hand sanitizer, that type of thing. They're just recommending and asking that you do that. So if during the tour you test positive, you're not feeling well and you test positive and need to seek medical attention, if you do test positive, you're not feeling well, you will be, you won't be able to continue on the tour. So, with that being said, if you're comfortable masking, that type of thing. But what happens is you all have insurance, and your insurance covers that situation. So if you do test positive, you're really, I know a lot of people, we're not testing, so if you don't have symptoms, you don't necessarily know you have it. It's not like you're gonna test, but if you know you're really not feeling well, and then you ultimately end up testing, they could, of course, you won't be able to continue. You have the travel insurance that covers those costs. You would be quarantined in place. So basically, quarantine until Mayflower will accommodate new flight schedule home. Again, keep every receipt that you have. Most of this is going to be a situation where you will fill out the insurance forms, provide your receipts, and then be reimbursed for those. So keep, this goes along with boarding passes, everything. I always say keep everything just in case. I know I'm the same way. I've had the flight, it's just another piece of paper. I want to get rid of that boarding pass, but I'm going to keep it just until the end, just in case. Let's see. You will be responsible for paying the costs up front and submitting the claim for your expenses for reimbursement. So, I hate starting off our conversation about a tour like this, but it's got to be said, and we're putting it out there. We'll get to the fun stuff in the itinerary, the travel tips here shortly. Now, it does say that we recommend each traveler bring a COVID self-test, which can be purchased at your local pharmacy, just in case you need to be tested on tour. And it says you need to be tested. That's going to be up to you. Nobody's going to come up to you and say, people have allergies and that type of thing. If you cough on the bus, nobody's going to say, oh, you have to be tested. It's really if you are in a situation that you feel like you're really not feeling well, to bring a test. Now, they are not very inexpensive, but they are less inexpensive if you go. I know I just ordered my 8 test kits from the government that they were sending. If they arrive in time, bring those. If you really are in a situation, I had a group recently leave, actually yesterday they left for a Princess cruise. All cruise lines require, they had to test before they left, and then they have to test before they get on the cruise, and it had to be medically observed. You don't have to do that. They're just saying, bring a test kit if you want, if you just want to test in the privacy of your own room if you're not feeling well. I do have these available. These are medically observed. I got them for the other group. I'm charging $40 for them. That's at cost for what it cost me to order them and have them shipped to me. By no means do you need to do this. I do have a few available though, extra. But I would suggest just getting the ones that you've received from the US government, or go to a pharmacy and get one. They don't have to be medically observed. Please be aware of safety protocols, and guidelines can change at any time. And at the same time, places that we visit, again, the word that I've heard is everything's pretty open, but that could change. We may get to a venue or a store, something that requires something more than just openly walking in like we're used to here. And then basically the rest of that, the waiver is just saying, you'll fill out the front and then you'll sign it just saying that you understand, the world is as it is, and if anything comes up, Mayflower is not responsible if you were to test positive. With that being said, you have insurance, so that will take care of that. And I can assist in that process. All right.
So do we have to turn this in
You will
someplace?
turn this in, yes, so you will fill this out, and this will get turned into the tour manager as well. So, as you mentioned, I wouldn't fill this out until right before departure, because it's asking you within the past 24 hours, have you experienced da-da-da. So this will be filled out right beforehand, you could do it before we leave, and then along with this tour member information, the tour manager will collect that.
And the tour manager is the lady in Salt Lake, not
Yeah, not me, that's right. I am, so Nancy Fields is her name. I am what they call a group leader. So I lead our group from Evansville to meet with the tour manager. So she is very familiar with the area. She does these tours all the time. So while I'm there to assist in general things, she knows the itinerary inside and out. She's gonna let you know what time breakfast is, where it's located, what time the motor coach leaving, what we'll do, very specific information. She'll give us information, historical and natural information about the area in terms of being more of an expert guide in that particular area. All right, so moving on then, you have the itinerary. This is the itinerary. You also booked from this itinerary. Everything, I've been monitoring closely, the flooding, and all tours are going out as scheduled. There is a flip-flop of day 3 and day 4, if you're the type of person who will read this itinerary and then read this one and say, wait a minute, that's not exact. The flip-flop has to do with logistics, it has nothing to do with flooding, it's just the way it makes the tour flow better for us. And sometimes those things change because the tour does flow better based on feedback from previous travelers. So a couple of differences, if you are monitoring the difference, our welcome dinner on day 1 is at 6 p.m. as opposed to 5:15 p.m. So that's listed on here. So it's I'm sorry, I don't know if I said that backwards. It's 5:15 instead of 6.
No.
I'm sorry, I said that backwards. This is what you go by.
No.
This is not. So, just some very general differences. The welcome dinner is a different time from that original itinerary. We are staying at the Hampton in Salt Lake. Again, I'm reading that backwards. We are staying at the Hilton rather than the Hampton. So I think what I'm trying to say here, instead of confusing things, is this green form is the current itinerary, only minor changes as opposed to what you booked on that itinerary.
Basically, look at this. and
This
not
is,
that.
yeah, ignore this, if you have this in your information, the timing, and now, and of course, that dinner time, that could be fluid as well. This is a very general itinerary, and when we get there, Nancy will give us the more specific itinerary. but just for that very reason, you know, just like I'm sitting here and I'm getting the times and all of that. Because if we told you a specific time, you know, the mower coach leaves on day 3 at such and such a time, and something comes up that we don't leave, how confusing would that be? So, this is very general, but it does let you know what we're gonna see. And that is, like I said, there's some days flipped, we're still seeing all of the sites, it's just that the days 3 and 4, are flipped. All right,
Do we need to flip 3 and 4 on the green sheet, or is it right?
right, it's correct on here,
Okay.
yes. This is correct. I think I've just confused that whole situation. I should have just said, here's your itinerary, here's what we're doing. I always have somebody though,
It doesn't
That-
make any difference, we're not driving. So
Yes,
we just
yes.
show up.
you're not gonna miss anything, flooding hasn't affected anything. But I always do a pre-departure meeting and somebody will notice that this isn't exactly like this. So, green sheets rule. It talks about the weather, and of course, we know how the weather is. My suggestion is Google it before you go, just to see. But it is, we were talking about this, it's warm out in that direction, even in September, mid-September. It's probably gonna be a situation where it's warmer during the days, cooler in the mornings and evenings, a situation for layering. So, I always just, pardon?
I looked today at a local site out there.
Yes.
And it's 60s and 30s.
Yes,
Oh,
so-
oh, really?
And
Oh,
this
okay,
is-
well, what's the high, what was the high?
60s to 70s.
I thought yesterday it said, and out in Salt Lake, it was 103.
Well, in Salt Lake it might be.
Right, but as we travel, exactly, as we travel to the different destinations, and if you're looking at that green sheet, yeah, starts and ends in Salt Lakes with mid-80s. Yellowstone being further north is cooler with, highs in the 60s, lows in the 30s. So, you know, for those of you bringing carry-ons only, you know, you don't have to, you know, one, you know, something to layer on, you don't have to, you know, it's not like, packing for the Alaskan cruise where they really are gonna need a parka along with shorts and t-shirts. So, there are, a few areas with elevation. Of course, you know, we kind of talked to that and when we were talking about the tour at the beginning. And then, clothing suggestions, comfortable is the key. Comfortable, good pair of walking shoes. Now, we do have the float trip involved here, so if you wanna bring like, it's a very calm, this has a picture of it, but I know in terms of promotions that I've sent, it's a float trip. It's not whitewater rafting, water isn't gonna be splooshing in from all directions, but we're on water. So if you wanna bring, you know, waterproof shoes or, you know, something of that nature, they're saying go ahead and bring that. Bring a sweater that can be layered, swimwear, the pools at the hotel, so if you are a swimmer and you want to take advantage of the pools at the hotel, because we do, you know, we're touring, it's a mixture of touring and free time, please bring your swimwear. And sunscreen, cameras, hat, visor, sunglasses, and then it mentions bringing insect repellent for Yellowstone. You know, I haven't looked at that specifically myself to see how bad they are. I really haven't heard any reports. You know, certain locations, it is a must for insect repellent. But they make those in travel sizes as well, so if that would make you more comfortable. You know, again, looking at the temperatures in the area, whether the insects will really, you know, these are kind of general rules that they put in there that doesn't necessarily mean that it is for all times of the year. Alright, so that's the general itinerary, and that is the most latest, greatest, up to date on what we'll be doing. airline ticket. Now, for the most part, when you check in, you are gonna give them your driver's license, and that's what you booked with. I don't think anybody booked with their passport as their official ID. And you are in the system, so to say. All of this is for your information. It's in a more concise, on this sheet here, your air schedule's in a more concise area. But this gives you your, basically, your electronic airline ticket, which I think is funny because this is not electronic. A lot of tour companies don't even provide this anymore. But it says you are confirmed on the flights indicated. When you check in, we'll get our boarding passes at that time. The airline is responsible for all seat assignments. Any special seat requests have been forwarded to the airlines. So anything that anybody suggested to me, that's been notated. Seat assignments are not guaranteed and are subject to change at the airline's discretion without notice. That's kind of a blanket statement. Anything involved with the airlines, they are in control. Myself, nor Mayflower has control over everything, or over anything with the airlines. And a change of seat assignment may be requested at the airline check-in counter. Now, on your sheet, so this is a group booking, this is a group tour. And when they do group airline bookings, they put us all under the same airline confirmation number. If you look, I don't know if you can tell, the highlighted area. So if you go on to, it says AA, it says flight booking reference, RNTAEH. Does everybody see that? Do you need to come circle that? Or if you want to circle it, that is everybody's confirmation number. So when you go onto American Airlines, if you want to do this, because some people like to go in and see what upgrades might be available. I looked today, $27 here for an upgrade, $36 here, $69 for something else. So you have a seat, and the airlines are in control of that seat. It's been assigned, but we don't have that specific seat. But if you go into AA.com, American Airlines, and type in your first name and your last name, with that booking reference number, RNTAEH, it will pull up. So I looked at mine today. I have a seat, but it doesn't tell me specifically which seat. But there are seats available for upgrade if you want, that are available. It shows you what's left, if you want to change your seat, and then it shows you what upgrades are available. So feel free to do that. My only cautionary tale of that, it should just pull up, like when I pulled up mine with my name and this number, it was just me. But make sure it's just your reservation. I wouldn't want you to go and upgrade and then find out that you've upgraded someone else on tour. Verify the name on the tour. Now, what I saw was there were no other names. It was just me under my name. A lot of that's just something that I share. Some people know about the booking number and some people don't, and they get to the airport and they get the seat that they're assigned. But if you want to go in and look and see what's available, feel free to do that. If that's something, otherwise you can check on it when you check in at the airport, and they'll give you your seat assignment at that time with your boarding pass.
Will we get 24-hour notice that it's time to check in by email?
If you, so you would have to get the American Airlines app on your smartphone, but that's not something that gonna come specifically without you having that.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the process, but it's not something that I'm automatically gonna get at tour departure time. Now, I'll get it because I'll have the app, but it's not something, that Mayflower's gonna send out and say, you know, it's been delayed by 10 minutes or that type of thing. I mean, I will do my best to update everybody. Once we're at the airport, you know, I monitor it, you know, 24 hours prior. But I will check on the process for that.
I was, on flights that we've had before where we book individually, the airline will send us a notice in advance. It's time for you to check in.
Right.
We won't receive that.
No,
Good.
no, right. Now, if you go in with this number and you fill in that information, it has specific information at the top, then it will. But if you do nothing at all, other than show up at the airport prior to, then you won't get those notifications.
Good.
You don't like those notifications?
Well, it's, just.
I do and I don't. You know, it gives you gate changes and all of that type of thing. So what I do is, I have it on my phone, and I get those updates through my app, but I'm monitoring it. You know, I have found you can check on your phone, you can check when you check in, and you can check the monitors, and they may not coordinate. I can remember going, several years ago, we were going to Iceland, and I'm checking my phone, and it's all great, and we're ready to check in, and everybody's like, it's been canceled. And lo and behold, it hadn't connected to my phone yet, but because of storms and our connecting airport, our flight got canceled. So I'm sitting here going, we're going to Iceland. And they're like, not yet. So, same thing with gates. I try to monitor them, but I always check when I land. So if you know, the app may say we're landing at gate such and such, and we're connecting at gate such and such. That could change while we're in the air, so I have no problem asking and checking things, just to make sure we're getting the correct information. On our flights, most of our flights average, you know, we're flying from Evansville to Dallas, Fort Worth, Dallas to Salt Lake, 2 hours. Those are 2-hour flights, pretty much. So we're not really, you know, on there for a seriously long amount of time. But with that being said, you know, yes, we want to be comfortable, but it's not a situation we're on there for 8 hours or longer for like an international flight or going cross country all at once would be. Okay, so this is your, when you check in, you can give them your driver's license, or you can just hand them this piece of paper.
It says 7 o'clock. That's the flight time. What time should we be there?
Okay, good question. So, I plan to be there at 5 a.m. I'm gonna be there 2 hours early. Cause I wanna make sure if there's any changes or whatever, I'm there to handle the situation and get us rerouted or whatever the case may be. It's Evansville, and it's early morning. More than likely, I'm gonna get there at 5, and I'm gonna sit there for a long time.
By yourself.
And I can be by myself. Now, I would like to, I just don't wanna be in a situation where somebody shows up and something unexpected happens and you don't get through security, or checked in. I'm gonna say an hour and a half before. That's what I'm suggesting to you. It's up to you. If you wanna get there an hour before, that's fine, but let it be noted, it's being recorded. If you get there at 6 and you don't make it on time and you don't make it through, you know, 90% chance everything's gonna be fine if you get there at 6. I'm gonna be there at 5. I suggest you be there between, 5:30, maybe a little bit after that. Yes, we're gonna check in probably. We're gonna stare at each other for a little bit, but that's so much better than being in a situation where you have to rush through and, you just never know what's gonna happen. My experience lately though is on the early morning flights, they're not as crowded. We don't have the business travel yet like we used to. It used to be, I would say, yeah, you have to be there 2 hours prior, because those early morning flights to Dallas and to Chicago were filled with business travelers. It's also a Saturday, so what business travelers are out there more than likely won't be, so.
And the 7 o'clock is flight time, it's not boarding.
That's not boarding time, that's exactly right, that's flight time.
Yeah.
People leave home at 5:30.
So, I'm gonna be there at 5. I'm suggesting you be there at 5:30, but that's up to your discretion. One thing I want to note, this is a domestic flight. American Airlines currently, it's $30 per checked bag. That's your checked bag. If you are doing carry-on only, you won't have that fee, but that's on departure and return, so ultimately $60 per person.
And carry-on, you're allowed a personal and a carry-on bag.
Yes, so
Okay.
you can have your checked bag up to 50 pounds, they check it, you pay $30, it goes on the undercarriage. If you bring a carry-on is your item that's gonna go in the overhead compartment. You can bring a personal item, that fits under the seat. If you have a medical device, CPAP machine is one that is, a lot of people have, that's considered a medical device, you can bring that as well. Just know that if you have a carry-on, a personal item, and a medical device, you're carrying 3 items through your connections. So, but yes, you can have, that with you. I know there's been a lot of talk about lost luggage. You know, knock on wood, most of my travelers have not had issues. I send travelers out every week. I've had one couple that had their luggage delayed, overseas, in Scotland. That's the only incident, you know, of course I'm bragging about it, so. But my thought on that is, when you're watching TV, they are not interviewing the person that says, my trip was great, my flights were on time, everything was perfect. You are gonna see, you know, and see all these horrible pictures about luggage, you know, thrown somewhere. Can't guarantee that it won't happen, but my experience is, you know, so that's, I know a lot of people, some things to help with that. One, do carry on only. I'm not sure I can do that myself, just because I haven't, you know, you think I'd have all this like packing down, but what I have done is I'm gonna try it out. So as an experiment, they're called Apple AirTags. Take that off. Now what happens when you, so they look like that, they're just little discs. When you check in at the airport, you're gonna, our luggage is going all the way through. We don't have to pick up our luggage. So we're gonna check, they're gonna give us, they're gonna put on the handle, that it's going from Evansville to Salt Lake. You know, we'll check that. Then they're gonna get, and it has a barcode on that. Then they're gonna give you a barcode. And what they do is they scan that barcode so that if you do have lost luggage, then they can scan that barcode and see where your luggage is. Well, you know, they talk about staff shortages, all of that. So as an added precaution, I'm gonna try these AirTags. I've got 4 of them. I've got a lot of trips coming up, so I went ahead and invested in 4, you know, for myself. I'm going with my daughter on a trip and, you know, some other family members. But I think they are, I can't remember how much they are individually, but, you know, maybe $25, $30
I
individually.
think they're 30 apiece.
Yeah, 30. So I'm gonna try this, just to see how it works. You know, that's part, you know, I feel like that's something I need to know. So that's a precaution that I'm gonna take for my checked bag. You know, other things they say is make sure, you know, take a picture of it so that you can, if it's lost, you can show them a picture of what it looks like, put something bright, bright scarf or something on it to identify it. But that's with your checked luggage, when you hear all the stories about lost luggage. Your insurance, also covers your, lost luggage, so make sure you keep your receipts and you can file for reimbursement for any toiletries. Another thing that's recommended on your luggage is, switch up clothing, so, you each have both sets of clothing in each bag, so if one piece gets, delayed or lost, you still have different things. So, all right. Moving on then to kind of the welcome letter. That very first page is just saying, thank you for traveling with us, not a lot of information. Then on the next page, you will see that this is a condensed version, an easier to read version of your air schedule. It's exactly what this is without all the extra text in there. Okay, so what it's saying is, since it's an electronic ticket, this is a copy of it. You don't, if this were to get lost, you're still in the system, so to say. So it's not like you lost your ticket and then you can't get on the flight. You're in the system.
Question,
Yes.
under room accommodations, it says twin, does that mean it's a twin bed?
No, Mayflower, instead of calling it double, calls it twin.
Okay,
So like for mine is single. Twin means double in Mayflower language.
okay.
So yes. I know,
So
to me, a
double
twin is a
means-
single, yes, just say yes, so I think it's very confusing. They didn't listen to me, so yes, twin means double occupancy. All right, we talked about, the air schedule, we talked about what time to be there, the connections are about 2 hours, or not the connections, the flights themselves are about 2 hours. On our departure, we have 2.5 hours in Dallas to connect to our flight. It's a good amount of time, but it's not a ton of time. I always recommend
Dallas is big.
go, so the comment is Dallas is big, it is. Now, we are domestic and we're American Airlines. So when airports seem really big is when you're going from a domestic to an international, or you're switching from, say, from American Airlines to Alaskan Airlines. Then there's, now, yes, the gates may not be super close, but given that it's a domestic, we're traveling domestic, we're not switching airlines, we're not doing international, it shouldn't be as bad. So 2.5 hours, again, I say, get off, we'll find where our gate is, we'll find a new gate, then you can, if you have to use the restroom, you have to use the restroom, but I wouldn't stop for food, I wouldn't stop to shop until we know where the gate is. And then continually monitor in case the gate changes. On the return, it's a much faster connection. Again, I will know where the gates are, I will do my best to have it outlay, come on, let's go. But it's an hour and 15-minute connection. So, again, that's, 33 minutes is a legal connection time, which seems outrageous. I will say that if our original flight is delayed and there's any issues, there are other flights, as long as there's availability to catch on for a later flight home. So we will, monitor flights, check those gates, and definitely this is a fast connection where we're gonna be hitting the ground, making our way to the next gate to catch our flight home to Evansville. Now, if there's anybody that feels comfortable like requesting a wheelchair for the airport connections. If that makes you, you know, more comfortable, that you're, you know, with that short connection, let me know, we can request the wheelchair. It just makes, you know, there's somebody there and they're gonna get you to the gate if that's a concern for anybody. So you can call me and I can have that added early, or we can make that decision when we check in. You know, so maybe you want one, you don't necessarily need one on the departure flight, but on the return flight, you've toured the whole time, and you're tired, and you know it's a fast connection, then we can request that then. We've talked about the baggage fees, it's a domestic flight, so there will be baggage fees. You have to have your driver's license. The rule for the real ID has been extended and extended and extended, so you don't have to have the driver's license with the star yet if you don't. Most people do already, but that doesn't go into effect until May of '23 now. Okay, the next information, I gave you this sheet that wasn't included in there. If it's the day of tour and you're unable to reach me to say, hey, I can't make it, you know, I would say call me first, I'll take care of it. But if you can't reach me for whatever reason, then call that number on there. Then we have the arrival transfer instructions. So, you know, we'll be as a group. Now, this is your vacation, this is your tour. You don't have to stay with the group, you don't have to stay with me. If you're, you know, wanna go and catch the connection, that's perfectly fine. But for anybody who doesn't wanna do that, I will, you know, stay with me. I will make sure we make that connections. I'll make sure that we get the transfer. So basically, what it's saying is we'll exit the baggage claim area, we'll get our luggage when we arrive in Salt Lake, and then we will, you know, as a group, it says as a group, but again, this is your time. If you wanna move ahead, that's fine. And then there will be someone from Mayflower's representative that will take us to the hotel to check in and then start our day. They'll probably have a sign with the, you know, the Mayflower logo. They know what time they arrived. They have, that all of our names are on a check sheet. So they will, then get us on our transportation and get us to the hotel. If for any reason you miss the connection, you know, you're not with the group, you get to the wrong location, there are directions there and a phone number for you to call, and they will have a shuttle, like an airport shuttle that will take you to the airport. And then we will transfer to the Hilton Garden Salt Lake. I did not look up the time that it takes, but I don't think that it's very far from, you know, it's not like we land and then we have to be transported an hour to our hotel. It's gonna be, you know, depending on traffic, it will be close by. On these transfers, gratuities are not included. So when we get picked up at the airport, you know, we'll talk about gratuities more in here. I keep an envelope with 5s and 1s and that type of thing for these types of things. So just that I can pull from for these gratuities. So this driver, the driver who takes us from the airport to the hotel, those gratuities are not included. Same way on the end of the tour, the transfer from the hotel back to the airport are not included. On our return home, our tour manager will let us know on our specific flight time, what time our transfer to the hotel on that last day will be. Okay. Are there any questions about any of the forms I've gone through yet?
Are there gonna be other gratuities other than those two that you mentioned?
Yes, and that will, those are gonna be in here, and we'll talk about that, more specifically. So, we'll move on to this one then. You'll see that there's several pages. I'm not gonna read through all of this. Again, this is your tour, your travel investment, so I recommend you read through this. I will get all of the highlights, I will make sure you know all of the important information. All right, tour manager, so if you want to, I had a pin included in there, if you wanna put Nancy. Did I have pins in there? I thought so, okay, all right. Sometimes I think I do things and it doesn't always happen. But her name is Nancy, Nancy, Field, like a single field, Field. And she is there, she's specifically trained for us, and she is there to take care of us. And I'm there to assist her. But really, when you get there, you're gonna be spoiled. You know, your meals are the meals that are included, and she's gonna make sure you know where to be and when to be all the time. They supervise the handling of the luggage, take care of check-ins at the hotels, reconfirm the meals, brief you on the daily events and timetable. They handle the logistics. On free time, they're happy to suggest places that are popular, restaurants that are popular. They really work hard on your behalf. So, you know, they do a lot of behind the scenes. When we're out having fun, they're making sure everything for the next day is taken care of. Okay, so with that being said, we'll talk about gratuities in a little bit, but the reason they're not included is we want you to be 100% satisfied with your tour manager and with your motor coach driver. So when we talk about the amounts to bring, I always bring an envelope, you know, I can add to or take away from, depending on the experience. Now, I use Mayflower because I'm comfortable with their tour product and what they offer, and I've not had a bad experience or a bad tour manager. That's not to say, you know, some reason, you know, someone doesn't gel with the tour manager. So I'll give you some guidelines in a little bit, but they really are, you know, any request that you have, they really are working hard behind the scenes for you. Okay, luggage information. We've gone through some of it. We've talked about you can bring, you know, check the bag, carry on, personal item, medical device. Checked bag is up to 50 pounds. If anybody's bag is over 50 pounds, they will charge for that. You know, I always think it's funny, your bag's over 50, so you put it into your carry-on, which is going on the same plane, but anyway, so we talked about the luggage tags. I don't think this affects the area, but it says, no, due to COVID, there may be some hotels that don't offer baggage handling services. In that case, you'll be responsible for taking your luggage between the coach and your hotel. I have not heard that that's the case on this tour. You know, I was even in New England last fall of 21 where things were more prevalent and they still handled luggage, and it was a Mayflower tour. So I don't foresee that happening, but that's just a note that it could. So it talks about carry-ons allowed on the motor coach. Pretty much what I do is I have my, you know, check bag, my carry-on, but for day-to-day, I won't bring my big carry-on with me. I'll actually bring that down and they'll put it on an undercarriage if we're traveling like from point A to point B, we're not staying at the same hotel. I have my purse, it may be a backpack for you, but really all I need for the day-to-day things would be, you know, my wallet, my phone for pictures and calls, a sweater, you know, an umbrella or a poncho, depending on, you know, what the weather may be. So you don't have to bring that big carry-on with you every day that we're touring, you know, but when we're going from, you know, we're leaving Salt Lake and we're going to Yellowstone, and then from Yellowstone to Jackson Hole, those days, I still bring just my, you know, my purse and all the things that I need, and then I'll put the carry-on that I've consider a carry-on on the plane, I'll just have them put it on the undercarriage of the motor coach. Okay, anything that's important to you that you need, your prescription medication, your jewelry, whatever items that you don't want to lose will be, should be in your carry-on with you at all times, in case your check bag does get lost. With that being said, prescription medication, a lot of times I get questions, does it have to be in the original prescription bottle? And all the tour companies in the past would say, make sure it's in its original prescription bottle. Now, if that's easy for you to do, that's fine. But what I have found over the years in investigating is there is no official TSA regulation that says it has to be in the official prescription bottle. If you do the little planners, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's fine. They don't know the difference between, I forgot one time I had, my baggies of vitamins and allergy medicines and that type of thing, not a prescription. I have never seen anybody have their medication taken away from them. But that being said, if it makes you more comfortable, if you have your day planner and you have 3 different pills in there, you can take a picture of, the different pills next to the bottles, just so that you have it on your phone if they happen to question you about it. So, that's a suggestion if you want, but you don't have to do that. Only difference for that would be is if your medication is a liquid. So, looking at the liquids, you get a quart-size baggie with up to 3 ounces. So this is 2 ounces here, this is 1 ounce. You can put as many liquids in this baggie, one quart-size baggie, as will fit. Nothing can be more than 3 ounces, and that is listed in here. So if you do have, say, a cough medicine or some kind of liquid medication, ask your pharmacy or your doctor to put it, to be able to put it into something that is 3 ounces or less. If you have a TSA pre-check number, if you haven't turned that in to me, give me that number. I will have it turned in. 1, I can have it turned in. 2, if you take that AA reference number that we talked about earlier and go in and add it yourself, or 3, when you check in. Now, I like to have it done before I check in, but again, it's the airlines, so I always look at my boarding pass to make sure TSA pre-check is on there.
What is that?
That is something, if that's, you pay for it, it's a more secure thing that you go through. For people who travel a lot, it keeps, when you go through security, so for instance, if you go through security with the TSA pre-check number, you don't have to pull your liquids out. The main thing I travel with my laptop, I don't have to pull my laptop off, you don't have to take your shoes off. It's just a quicker way to get through security in the United States. The airports that we're going through, Evansville, a lot of times I'll get in the pre-check line and people who are in the regular line are through as fast as I am. Salt Lake isn't a huge airport, but it might get you through security a little bit faster. So, it's just something that you apply for. I think it's $85. You go through a more intense security and then it shows up on your boarding pass.
Okay.
So. But if somebody does have it and you want me to turn that in for you, I always carry it with me to double check because, again, it's the airlines and I may have turned it in, but it may not show up on my boarding pass. And then I can turn it into the agent and then they'll add it.
So it's not something you do for each trip?
No, it lasts for 5 years.
Oh.
Yes, so you would do that and it lasts for 5 years.
Okay.
But it is a process and it's given, our tour is the 17th, there's not enough time to get one for this trip. Let me think of something else. So there is, if you look at the very bottom of page 3, it says if your luggage is not checked through to your final destination, don't worry about that. That's one of those standard phrases they put in there. Our luggage will go all the way through. You know, and I'll make sure when we check in that our luggage tags say from Evansville to Salt Lake, even though there's a connection in there. So if one of the notes in there is if we were flying Southwest, they don't have baggage agreements, but we're flying American the whole way, so we're good. So you know, kind of goes through security. It's going to go through an X-ray. So it says to minimize potential damage to your bags, we do not recommend that you lock your bags because TSA can get into your bag. A lot of luggage right now has like the universal lock on it so that they can get in it. You'll know that if they get into your bag to check things, they will leave a little calling card in there that says your bag's been checked. I actually put a tie strap on mine, so that's, you know, that way they can cut it. That way, you know, in case the zippers come apart, if you don't have a lock on your bag, I can do that. Prescriptions and valuables on page 4. We've been through that. Health and walking tours. So this is an area where we're seeing Yellowstone and Jackson Hole. So these aren't areas like you're traveling in, you know, say the east side of Evansville where there's sidewalks and the motor coach can pull right up. There may be, you know, this isn't an intense walking tour, but just know that you may not always get right up to, you know, for the most part, yes, we're gonna get right up to our hotel. But you know, we're there to see Yellowstone and Jackson Hole, so there will be some walking required with that. If anyone, I'm not aware that anyone is bringing a wheelchair or scooter, but you know, that would have been something that we've talked about before to make sure everything's taken care of. But basic response here is the tour manager and the coach driver are busy taking care of everybody. So if anybody needs special assistance, that will have to be provided. Now in this case, I'm gonna be in tour. If anything, you know, somebody having maybe, you know, like sprained an ankle or something, you know, I would be around to help assist with those types of things. I'm not aware of anyone who uses oxygen, so we're not gonna go through that. We talked about if you would like a wheelchair request at the airports, let me know and I'll have that applied. And that's just to help get through connections faster. Packing checklist, a very short one. Got it lists here. Everyone has their own packing list, but you know, you've got your e-ticket, you've got your driver's license, and any medications that you need. All of us are U.S. citizens, so you don't have to bring, you know, your driver's license is your proof of citizenship. Airport security, you know, we pretty much have talked about that. You have your driver's license, you'll have your boarding pass, you'll go through security. We talked about the liquids, the things that you can bring with you. So that whole airport security is also kind of goes along with the luggage, and we've covered those points. Again, read through this if you see something that's,
The liquids,
yes.
what is considered a liquid?
Okay, so, of course, your lotions, hand sanitizer, toothpaste, and lotions. So most people, you know, I've heard different things, but I actually looked that up the other day. So I always bring, you know, have my doc kit, whatever you wanna call it, inside my check bag. But I always bring a travel size toothpaste just in case my bag. You know, I always bring, in my carry-on, I bring toothbrush and toothpaste and an extra change of clothing in case my luggage doesn't make it to me in time. But I always put that travel size toothpaste in here. And then if you want more than a travel size, then you can put that, well, you're not checking the bag, so.
Right,
But like, if you wanna bring like 2 or 3, you know, that however many will fit in.
right. So that's, I guess, because liquid, because there's, you know, mascara, lipstick, stuff like that.
You know, and it doesn't talk about that. My suggestion is, you can go to American Airlines, because these things can change. Go to AA.com and look up liquid rules or TSA.gov. And, I mean, it's gonna be the same information. The airlines are ruled by TSA. So on our flights, they're more than likely, given it's 2 hours, we're not gonna have a full service meal. We'll have a snack and a beverage offered to us. So feel free to bring snacks and things with you. You know, you can't bring a big bottle of water, you know, through security. Once you're through security, you can get something to bring on the plane, but, you know, as long as it's not a liquid
Some
snack.
people bring an empty bottle.
Yes, and a lot of people will bring an empty bottle, and once you're through, then you can fill it back up, exactly, yeah, that's a good idea. Alright. So we talked about, the airline has complete control over seating assignments. If you have made a specific seating request, we do our very best to make sure that that's been accommodated for you, but we can't guarantee it, given it's in airline control. Incidental charges while staying at your lodging, costs you incur for phone calls, you know, with cell phones, I'm not even sure if that's a thing anymore, but phone calls, room service, cable or TV charges, laundry, bar services, that is not included in the cost of your tour. And so, with that being said, when we know what we're checking out the next day, go ahead and take care of those charges as soon as possible, so that, you know, the tour manager and the group isn't waiting for you to take care of those charges, as we depart. So, again, the tour manager is gonna let you know when the tour is gonna be departing and at what time. So, you know, just get downstairs to the lobby in time to make those payments before we're leaving. Alright, so now we're on to the tipping, and gratuities. So as we mentioned, you know, the tour manager and the driver are doing a phenomenal job. A lot of times in the background that you may not always see, although they're there for you all of the time as well. They suggest a gratuity of $6 to $8 per person per day for the tour manager. So what I do is I put that amount, $8 per day, you know, for however many days we're gone, and then I put that in an envelope for the tour manager. Now, I've never taken money out because I was dissatisfied, but if that happens to you, you know, I break it up into denominations. Now, some people may not wanna carry that much cash with them, but when I first started doing this, I would go on tour and not have my gratuity money, and then I'm making that mad dash at the last minute to get gratuities for the tour manager. So I put it in an envelope, 6 to 8 per person per day, and then you can add to it or take from it as you see fit. The motor coach driver is $3 to $4 per person per day. And then, you know, they are with you the entire time. You will do this on an individual basis. It's not like they're gonna say, now you'll kind of get a feel when, you know, the tour is ending when to do that, but they're not gonna say, all right, it's time for my tip, bring it on. But you'll kind of know how to do that. And yeah, the best way to do it is in an envelope, you know, that way it's easier for them to, I'll probably have extra envelopes with me, in case anybody needs one. And they request that group collections not be taken, so I'm not gonna collect it from everybody and then hand it to them, because it's a very personal decision for you. And then occasionally, I'm not sure, and this would, you know, probably through the parks, we will have a step-on guide who's gonna be with us. Those are people who just kind of step on, give us a narrative, take us around for a little bit, and then once we're finished with that, they're done. And that's $1 per person for their contribution to the tour. You know, Mayflower's paying them to guide us, you know, so if we do have a park ranger or a park guide with us, but they're suggesting that you can give them, you know, $1 per person for that. So, if a meal is included, the hotels that we're staying at, the luggage handling, those are included in your cost. So, you know, any meal that is provided on tour is, gratuities are covered. Here's a list of things where, tips are not included. Luggage handling at the airports, maid service, services of a personal nature, or meals or drinks that are not included as part of the tour. So, you know, if you have free time and it's not a part of the group tour, you go down and have a drink at the bar, that's not included in the gratuity is not included in the cost of the tour. So we're not on a cruise or a rail trip, so on page 9 at the top, tips on tipping, they're just saying that if you're on some of those, sometimes those are added to your credit card already. Guaranteed share travelers, that's really for when people are initially booking, but I always like to bring it up. For single travelers who don't want to pay the single supplement, Mayflower is a tour company that will provide a guaranteed share program. You say, I want to go on tour at a double rate, and they will assign you a roommate. Some tour companies assign roommates, some don't. They will do it, you've given your approval, and then what happens is they'll assign a roommate, but if they can't find a roommate, you get to go as a single at the double rate. So, it just depends on how many people can sign up as a single. Motor coach transportation, information, all of your transportation is provided on tour. It's very comfortable, and you know, we're in the United States, so you know, you're gonna move around. They have the seat belts. You know, just in general, if there's a seat belt and you're not wearing it, and the motor coach gets pulled over, and they, you know, someone steps on board and sees that there aren't people, the fine will be for you for not wearing the seat belt. It won't be passed on to Mayflower or the transportation. Because I know
There are seatbelts on buses?
on motor coaches, yes. Yeah. Yeah, because they're very comfortable seats. You'll have, now I can't speak specific to this one, but they usually have the trays in front, they have the little net in front. The more modern ones have the charging stations there. The seats kind of recline a little bit. You have a little foot thing, to put your feet on, and seat belts, yeah. And of course, you're on a bus, and I mean, that's the same reaction. People, you're on the motor coach, you don't have it. You know, they mentioned that. I mean, I never had that happen. I've never heard of it, but they put it in there anyway. Traveler's protection plan, top of page 10. You have insurance. This explains it. So, no smoking or alcohol on the motor coach. So you can have alcohol in your alcohol. And of course, there are locations to smoke, but this is on the motor coach. This not a situation where, you know, like I know some of those ski trips, college ski trips, you know, there's more alcohol on board than there is luggage. So, but in this case, they asked no alcohol on board. We are in the United States, so you don't have to worry about roaming fees and that type of thing when you're doing international travel. If you do have any questions about that, then call your cell phone company. Everybody has, you know, I know people have AT&T, I have Verizon, my sister has T-Mobile, so it's different for each company, but you shouldn't encounter any issues while we're in the States. So they're, you know, they talk about reusable water bottles, and having those rather than, you know, you're gonna see more and more that travel companies, we know that we put a footprint as we travel. So that's one of them, as we travel, we use our reusable water bottles as opposed to the plastic ones. We talked about the seat rotation guidelines already. At the very bottom note, due to COVID-19 and health concerns, there might be a time when we don't rotate seats. So it's really gonna be up to the tour manager and the situation that we're in. Itinerary change from time to time, circumstances require changes of events. Your tour manager is gonna take care of all of that and announce it to us. If your hotel room gets broken into, you know, your bag gets tossed at the airport and a wheel comes off, that is not the responsibility of Mayflower. I will say though, if you do find that your luggage is damaged at the airport, you know, let me know. Take care of it at that time. You know, we'll hold up the motor coach, because once you leave the airport, if you have, you know, I'm not gonna say you will get reimbursed for anything, but you have a better chance if you take care of it while you're at the airport. Most of the time, they're just gonna say, hey, that's the wear and tear of having your luggage tossed about. But, emergency contact, for most situations, contact your tour manager or myself, and I'll be in touch with the tour manager. And then they've provided that number during business hours, but this little sheet, I've also added the emergency number on there for you. All right, so there you have it. Your next responsibility is sit back, relax, and have the time of your life. You got a cat in there too. So, I know it's a lot of information, there are a lot of things. If questions pop up, email me, call me.